Bring our jury back in. Both Brendans are coming.
It's 2 votes.
Only 1 vote in this. Bobby voted out at the last tribal council. So Louie, Anthony, you know how this goes. You guys have gone as far as you can on your own. The power now lies over there with the jury. Your job is to convince them why you should be the winner of Survival Challenge 2019. I'm going to let each of you make an opening statement. The jury is going to each get the chance to ask you 1 question each or make a statement. They'll be interactive as long as it's productive. And then right after they're done, they have all their information, I'll ask them to vote. Anthony, why don't you get us started?
All right. Stand or sit? What do you want?
Whatever you like.
All right, I'll sit. Hey guys, what's going on? So I'll just jump right into it. Coming into this game, what I was probably expecting sort of happened right at the beginning. I figured I would be 6'3" athletic dude, so I probably needed to tone down the challenge strength stuff. But that didn't happen right at the jump. I knew immediately, like 2 challenges in, I was like, I want to be looked at as a physical threat for sure. The other thing I knew I needed to do coming in was kind of play as aloof as possible, as like a more physical guy. So that's why I was joking, like you guys in my original tribe, you know, and all of you. No, I was just joking around all the time, trying to seem like not that like savvy, that strategic, like that like over the top of a player. So I joked around as much as possible. Not that I was faking it, but that's who I am. But I like just did more of it than I might have in more serious setting. But as it got down to it, beginning of the game, I found myself in great position. I think if we whittled down even further than 4, I think I was in good shape still. We merged. Before merge, I think I made some connections outside of that I thought were potentially going to help me along the way. We ended up merging, and we had our red and blue connection, and I knew I could rely on that for a little bit. Pretty quickly, and starting like at 12, I tried to shake things up, but couldn't really get too much footing with that right away. I tried to get traction for that at 12, but people were kind of a little shaky about starting that quick. But as it got down to it, what I realized I needed to do was I actually needed my fellow blues to start to go. Unfortunately, I didn't want you guys to go, but I knew that was my best bet to get better footing, because I didn't feel in control at all when the merge started. I wasn't making decisions, I was going along with it. Part of that was because I knew I was threatening coming in. I knew I was. So I couldn't be out there going hard. I couldn't. And so I had to stay back a little bit and sort of let chips fall a little bit, let it get whittled down. I actually thought the Luke vote, I tried really hard to not have it be you. Didn't work, obviously. I thought that was a bad turning point in my game. I thought I was not too much longer for the game, but then what I realized started happening was my fellow 3 original blues started and I was catching wind of you guys were really going really strong, talking to other groups, the original groups, and names were starting to come up, and I knew my name was still out there. So when I saw that, I was like, I need to lay back again and once we eventually start getting targeted, I can't let it be me, because I think when the merge started, it probably would have been me first. So that ended up working out. I didn't necessarily want you guys to go back to back to back, but in the end of the day, I think it actually worked out. When they were happening, I was like, this actually is probably good for me. I didn't necessarily plan those. Sam, I kind of sort of was not in charge, but I was a pretty big factor in that happening. I'm sorry. But I think it needed to happen for me to succeed. Then at 7, when 7 hit, I don't know how true this is, but I was fairly confident I could at least get to 3, and possibly 2. I didn't feel, as the immunity started coming, I didn't think I needed to win most of those 6 and 5 or whatever the last 3 necessarily. But that's when I started turning on the jets. I didn't necessarily throw challenges along the way, but I didn't give my 100% because I kind of figured I should probably whittle myself down. I did drop intentionally in the reward challenge. I also, there's a couple others I'm trying to remember that I intentionally, the balancing one, a couple of the balancing ones I intentionally dropped because I didn't want to seem too scary going forward. But yeah, I think I set myself up really well with relationships and the people I talk to, and just kind of not appearing as threatening as the game wore on, to make sure I was surrounding myself with people that would actually take me here, is when it came down to the fact that it didn't seem like anybody was really the GOAT to bring or something like that. So look forward to your questions.
Go ahead, Louie.
How did this happen? Coming into this game, first of all, I want to say thank you all. This has been so much fun, and a reason why this has been so much fun has been because I got to play with every single one of you. And coming into this game, I knew that I was a big personality. I can't hide that. I have to be who I am. And my strategy coming in was to find a core group of people that I can work with the overall goal of get as far as you can. And when I first hit the beach at Upon, I went the beach. We're at the resort. When I hit camp at Upon, I immediately started feeling out who can I have the best connections to, who I think are going to be beneficial to me moving forward, who's giving me good energies and good vibes. And for me, my gut was telling to just trust Gracie and Justin, which is what I did for as long as we could trust each other. For sure knowing that at some point things might get scary and we'd have to turn on each other. The beginning of this game for me was tricky because I didn't want to be overpowering because that would put a target on my back, but I somehow kept finding myself in like these hero roles in the challenges, or starting fires, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to pump the brakes, because people are, on top of just being a funny, likable person, they're going to see all these extra things and start putting the puzzle pieces together. So the second day comes, and my strategy on the second day was to really scale it back. I knew that Upon and Kia were going to start working together to start whittling down the Zikas, because it just made sense number-wise. I wanted to float back a little bit and let some people take the reins while still being in the majority of the votes each time, because that would take the heat off of me in case anybody was noticing that in the first day that I was becoming a big target. And I did that. I mean, I also did suck at the challenges, but a lot of that second day was because I was, holding back a little bit to keep the target off of me. I couldn't be a physical threat and a social threat and a strategic threat that early in this game, a game of 24 people. It was too early. Anybody who showed their colors that fast was chopped off. So I did what I could to stay under the radar as best as I can, and that's not very well, to put myself forward in this new way. I had to adapt to the people that were left. And I started making new connections slowly with people. I didn't want to be the person who was running to every single new person that I hadn't met yet, saying like, hey, let's chat about this, let's chat about that, because that too has a risk of being seen as shady. So I stuck closely to Gracie and Justin because that's what I needed to do. No one really saw me going off in a pair or single with other people, because I didn't want people to see me as somebody who was trying to gather information. I was getting my information via other people. Then comes to last night, where my name started to come up at the votes, at the tribal councils. And it made sense. I knew why. I'm a likable person. I understand that. I feel like I do well in front of people, and it's a strength of mine, but a weakness in this game. So if it wasn't for, I think the turning point for me was the Luke vote out, because as much as I didn't want to vote out Luke, it showed to people that I was willing to turn on my original tribe. And that got the game really shifting into a new gear. I immediately was like, okay, we can't keep going on our Upon people because then we'll be picked off one by one. So I think the next pivotal moment for me was the Julia vote, because once Rachel won immunity and we had to do the reward challenges, and then Rachel, Gracie, and I were sent back to camp, it was so clear that I was the next person to go. We ran through how many different strategies and configurations of how could we twist the numbers, and almost every single one of them pointed back to me, because that's what I would have done if I was in somebody else's shoes. I even made a fake idol that I was going to pull out. I'm no Bob Crowley, but I was whittling. Oh no, where's the thing?
It's a fucking stick.
It's a stick. It is a stick. We had an idol clue. Oh, it's in here somewhere. I paid some tape. I tried carving the word idol into it. You know how hard it is to make a fake idol when there's people around? It's very hard. But once we had the night to kind of talk through some more stuff, I felt that he'd kind of coming off me a little bit, because I saw Julia was starting to talk to more people and throwing out more names. And I was like, good, let her do that, let her see that, let other people see that she's throwing out different names. So this morning, it was either going to be me or Julia, and I could feel it. And I was praying that it wasn't me, just because why would I want me to be me? But that shifted the focus off of me somehow, theoretically, because I did receive votes every single tribal council afterwards. But I was able to use my strengths and my personality to get to where I am right here. I couldn't do it with individual immunity wins. I couldn't do it with advantages. I couldn't do it with idols. I did it, it was because of me. And Survivor is not just a game for me. It is a part of who I am. It's weaved into the fabric of my soul. I've been watching since day one, when I was 7 years old. And as somebody who grew up, who wasn't necessarily always liked and had to use his comedic skills to get himself forward in life, Survivor brings out the best in me, because I can only rely on myself and my instinct. And it's how I've gotten to my profession, where I am in my life, my relationships with people, and it's what got me here right now today. I just had to be me. I didn't have to do anything super big and flashy. You all took care of that for me, and I thank you for that. And I wish I had an idol. I wish I had won immunities, but it wasn't in the cards for me, and I had to deal the hand I was given. And a lot of luck was in store, because it could have been me any of the past 5 rounds. And it wasn't. So I thank you all for playing such a great game, because regardless of how this turns out, it has been an amazing experience.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening.
Jury, we'll get started. Justin?
All right. I just want to make a quick statement. I have a question. So my quick statement is, I knew coming into this game that I wanted to vote for the person who played the best game. So I really encourage you guys to own what you did. Tell us about your moves. Be really articulate, and tell your story, because I hope these guys will come in with an open mind. I don't want either of you to think that you've got this in the bag, because I think we're all coming in with an open mind. My question is, why does the person sitting next to you not deserve to win? Do you care who starts?
You can decide.
Anthony, why don't you go?
I think he just said it at the end. I think his road here was more lucky than anything, because like he said, that final 8, he was gone. Like, he was absolutely going, but it just happened to be that one round where there was a twist and then a huge gap of time, and I don't think it was his doing that kept him in. I think it was, like he said, Julia started going really hard that night, talking to a lot of people and throwing too many names out, and that's what ended up flipping it. Whereas I think, and I don't think him catching votes was him being a threat. I think it was his alliance didn't he wasn't as tight with them, so they were cool getting rid of him. Whereas if my name came up, it was never latched onto, whereas his was. And then towards the end, the perception was that his game was weaker than everybody else, so the target shifted off of him and onto other people. Whereas I think my job was, or I think I just happened to position myself much better, and that's why I got here.
Louie?
Just a quick piggyback off of what he's saying, I do think that there is a lot of luck that comes into this game to everybody. You need luck in order to get to the end of this game. No one gets here solely on their strategic or their physical or social game. That being said, I do think I played a better social game than Anthony did. I think I was somebody who was more in the face of everybody as somebody who they wanted to, chat and come for a pick-me-up when times were getting hard or things were not necessarily... In the public eye, I think I was a better visible social player than Anthony was. And I think that is a strength of mine and a weakness of his because it was the play I had to do. Anthony had an immunity run. If he didn't win those, who knows where he would go? I didn't have to win any type of immunities to get to where I was. And I do think the votes that I got were because I was a threat. My alliance might have thrown me under the bus, but it's because they were preserving themselves, and they have to do that as well. And I think it's also a lot of luck that challenges that you won. So I think my social game is better, and I think that's why Anthony doesn't deserve it over I do.
Thanks. And Louie, I'm really glad that you're acknowledging luck, because I think it was very lucky that I used my extra vote to save you.
Hey,
Good luck to you both.
Thank you.
Travis.
All right. First of all, congratulations. I'm going to be very generic here, and just what was your biggest move and how to get you here?
Who do you carry?
I'll start, yeah.
You're good.
I think I said it earlier, but I think the biggest move for me, at least in the back half of the game, was voting out Luke, because it really shook up the game. It showed that the tribe colors could be blended. And from that moment on, you saw the scramble of okay, we can blur the lines, we can start playing. And, there was a number of factors of why Luke ended up being the person. And it was because I saw Luke kind of wanting to blend the colors with other people. And I thought, hey, I'd rather get rid of that and do it myself than have him do it and it turn back on me. It was either Luke or the Julia, because we talked over that strategy of getting rid of Julia the night before during the reward challenge, when the three of us were back at the reward at camp after the reward challenge. And luck came into that, because I don't know if I would have been able to pull that off if we didn't have the night and with Julia's help.
I'd say, I guess kind of similarly, mine was probably getting rid of Sam. Again, sorry. But I knew that she was going to end up being a detriment to my game, because she started playing so hard and was in so many ears. And I knew her name would start floating around eventually, and I knew that her getting out was going to be a stepping stone for me to not be as much in the spotlight with the Kia group. So getting that ball, me and Julie getting that ball rolling, I think was really key. Can I say a quick second one just to clarify something that happened at Tribal before? I did vote for you, Rachel. That I was the other vote. The reason I did it was because I wanted. I thought just a second vote for you would seem really weird, and I wanted it to seem like either Bobby or David did it to try to shake up people's thoughts of what was. And I think it at least somewhat worked, because somebody, forget who did it, somebody came up to me and said they were sure Bobby was that vote. So I think it did its job a little bit. It might not have mattered too much, but that was my thought going into that.
Gracie?
Congratulations. Y'all have a lot to be proud of, so good job. My question to you is, if you two were not in that seat and two of the jury members were, which gameplay did you appreciate and would you want to see in those two seats?
First this time. I think Justin played an insanely good game. Like I said, I was trying to get the ball rolling on getting him out for so long, but he had such good footing that it wasn't even like, it might have been kind of close, but not really that close to happening for a long time. I think if just a couple things, if he was just maybe slightly less of the biggest clear target left in the game, that he could have been sitting here, but it was just so obvious at that point, and things were breaking down some because you had good bonds. He had good bonds with everybody, but things started catching up, and I approached David that, hey, he's making deals with both of our like groups here, like, and he's pushing it hard. Like we need to act on this. You just want one person?
No, two.
Oh, two people. I would say it's interesting. Man, I think a good balance would be David, because he was just so calm, cool, and collected. He literally came into the merge, before the merge, with such a huge target on him, just for, not only for who he is, I don't think that was that huge of a thing, but just being just such a, like, maybe the nicest dude out here, and just, he was so easily the first vote, but people were like scared, oh, he could have an idol, like he's probably that good like his dad, but he was one immunity away, which he almost won from being what I thought was a final three, and he probably could have easily won that last one too. So I think it would be really fun to see both of them here, and I would have a really tough decision, I think, between them two.
Gracie, I will say you, because we worked so closely together the entire game, and I was able to be front row to the master class that is Gracie in your social game, your strategic game, your physical game. I think you totally were a package deal in the way that you were able to maneuver yourself through this game without really getting any votes until the end. And that takes a lot, of precision and skill and accuracy in being able to read people, and that needs to be acknowledged and congratulated, because that is a fantastic thing. And I would love to see you sitting up here, because I would gladly vote for you. Another person I'd gladly love to see up here and vote for would be probably Justin, in the same sense that I was also able to see your game. And although there were times where I saw that, maybe you weren't necessarily being super truthful to me, you were playing the game. And I think people saw that the potential in what you could be, and you did good when you needed to step off the brakes. You did good when you needed to put on the gas. And I think that's also another thing that is tricky to accomplish in a game that moves so fast-paced. And I hope that doesn't seem like a cop-out answer, but I spent 5 days with these people, and I was able to almost know every single thing that was going on, and it truly was a trifecta for a while. So I would say you two. I would have loved to see an Upon sweep.
Originally I was going to ask Anthony a question, but I think he answered it in his opening statement. Whereas Louie's opening statement raised a lot more questions for me. So you kept talking about like your social game, you're a people person, but you also said that you didn't go off and have conversations a lot, which is exactly what I experienced. I felt like in camp you were super funny, super fun to be around, but we never talked one-on-one unless either Gracie was there or we were just checking in on something that Gracie had already started. And so I just want to know, on my vote out, and this is a little bit of a self-centered question, on my vote out, what role did you play? Did you say that vote? Because I think if you said it, that was a really smart move on your part. I just don't know. Was that something that you think is your move, or were you just kind of a passenger on somebody else's vote?
I do want to acknowledge that we didn't touch base a lot strategically on that first day. And ever. I mean, yeah. Well, not ever, but especially in the beginning of the game. Because the beginning of the game, no one was really wanting to go and have conversations. And I was trusting that the people that I was talking to real fast was getting the information. And it was a lapse in the beginning of my social game. And when you had voted for me and that tribal, it really opened up my eyes because it was something that I was worried about, but I felt like I was getting good vibes, like, okay, like we can trust each other with the small amount of information of like, we're good, we got the same thing, that we didn't have to have elaborate conversations.
Okay, see, I didn't get that.
And that's a lapse on me. When it came to your vote, I do think I was one of the people who threw your name out. We were in the pond after a challenge, cooling off, and it was a conversation that was, Gracie was there. I don't remember exactly who else was there, but we were like, this is the time to make the move. And your was the name that I wanted to go out because I began to see how you were making different connections with other people. And it wasn't a personal thing because I did enjoy our time together. And I knew that I already couldn't trust you because you had already put my name out. And even though I understood why you did it, if someone was willing to put my name out when it wasn't the plan, that just put the wall up for me. And it made it hard for me to go to you with information fully because I didn't know what you were going to do with it. Whereas other people that I fully trusted, I knew the information that you needed could get back to you and vice versa. It's also a two-way street.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And you answered my question.
Yeah, thank you. Rachel?
Just to start, I want to reply to both things that you guys said. Austin, for the vote that you voted for me. Anthony. Oh my God, I've done that all game. Anthony, the vote that you did for me, it definitely did shake things up. But I thought it was one of you two, either you or Louie. Definitely wasn't Bobby because you would have played his idol for. I'm just not gonna say any names. And David's a loyal puppy. But he's like the most loyal guy ever. And then for you with the Julia vote, you definitely were willing to strategize, and that was like one of the most fun sessions. But I do think that I mentioned Julia first. Not sure if that's accurate, but I think I did. And I also think I suggested making the idol to you.
Yeah, no, I didn't say that the idol was my idea. It was a spitballing session, the three of us. And that was one of my best memories of this game is because we very rarely had time to sit down alone and talk strategy with people. And it was so much fun because that's why we're here. We want to play, the game and we want to strategize. And that was a group effort. I'm not taking complete ownership of that entire thing.
I just wanted to reply to it since we mentioned it.
Yeah.
Both of you in your openings talked about how you think your game could have been really amazing, but you held back and you went under the radar. When do you think in the beginning you were so amazing that you were like, oh shoot, I gotta hold back? For both of you.
I never thought I was amazing. I hope I didn't use that word. I just think I
just
did.
Sassy. You didn't.
Oh no, it's cool.
Being annoying.
I didn't think my game was super amazing at the beginning necessarily. I just think I came across as a threat very quickly because of those initial challenges. I knew when it was the moment I was standing there with those two things. I was the only one standing with two. I was like, this is really dumb. I should drop now. I literally should drop. And so that's why, not that I was I was doing so amazing in the game wise, but that's when I was like, I need to dial it back a little bit. I do think I was playing, I was doing well with my tribe. I know he's very social. I think I was incredibly social too. I think I made a lot of good social connections. But I was in really good position in the beginning of the game. And I knew that some of them, like Colin, for example, and Sam, I knew they were very aggressive players. So I knew they would be good to go along with, and I knew I could drop back a little bit when I had to, because they were going to be they would show themselves as the bigger threats than me, the bigger targets than me. So
I would say coming in, I knew that everybody on my tribe, for the most part, enjoyed my presence being around. I have no issues really getting along with anybody, and like I said, that's a strength of mine. I'm able to adapt to different personalities, and I'm a jokester. I'm animated. I'm somebody that enjoys being, the center of attention sometimes because it's who I am. So going in, I already felt like, okay, I need to make sure that I'm managing that enough where it's not getting too out of control. Then when the challenges started to come, I wouldn't say I was super weak off the bat. That first night at camp, we all went around and set our strengths. for challenges, and I think those stayed pretty true. I said I'm a good runner, I'm a great swimmer. That very first challenge we had, it was a swimming challenge, and people immediately saw how good I could swim and keep myself in the water and be active. And that was my first shot of like, ooh, wow, okay, so they can see that I am good physically in the spots where I'm good physically. And then if they think I'm good socially, I have to be careful, becoming too much of a threat. And then throughout the day, I started to show that I knew a lot of Survivor trivia. That's also a dangerous thing. Wow, he's social, he can do some physical stuff, he knows his game really well. So by the end of that second day, I could build fire with flint really fast. I had all these skills that I was saying, oh my God, if somebody's really taking an eye to me, they're gonna start putting the pieces together that I'm a great player. You should have, no. So it was just about, it was difficult for me. The middle portion of the game was difficult for me. And because I had to tone back some of that stuff, because I think if I kept going at the rate that I was going in like the hero roles of the challenges or whatever, it would have been too much for me to be able to save myself. And I knew I didn't have idols, I didn't have advantages, I didn't know where they were. I didn't have a lot of information. So when I don't have information in this game, I have to pull back and observe. And that's the role I played.
Austin?
So it is Survivor. Everybody has secrets. I'm sure we'll find out afterwards. The reunion show we're talking to after the game. There's a lot of secrets. So what was the biggest secret that you had in the game?
Mine was probably that me and Luke played together. My tribe knew it, but I don't know that anybody else actually knew that we knew each other before. The only reason I said something was because I was pretty sure Lance knew that you didn't. Oh my God. I thought you knew that we played together, so I didn't want it to like come out in back channel, so I told them and I was upfront about it. So that was probably the biggest secret. Oh, also, I very much downplayed my Survivor knowledge. I do know Survivor. During the trivia challenge, I said I'd sit out because it was not good. It's not great, but it's solid.
This is tough to answer because I didn't really have any big looming secrets that propelled me. I mean, there might have been like a few times where I had conversations with people and I was throwing out different names that I knew were lies, but I didn't have any big lies to anybody that, aside from like, oh, like, yeah, the vote is this, except it's this. I guess I didn't tell anybody that I have played Survivor New York, which is like essentially a smaller scale version of this, last summer. But I only didn't say it because it seemed, when other people on my tribe were saying that they played different things, it was seen as, a threatening thing. So I was like, no, never done anything like this before. But that was a 2-day thing. It was like Saturday, Sunday, bam, done. So this was like, to me, it even felt like a whole different ball game. So I guess that was my biggest secret, but it wasn't, anything that propelled or paused the game in any way.
Can I add one last thing I just thought of as he started? I think I told my original tribe this. I don't know how much. I think I might have mentioned it, but I did play a game last year. I didn't share that with other people, but I also have played many online Survivor games. So I think I mentioned it, but it's like I'm pretty ingrained in like that community somewhat, and I didn't think that was a good thing to share. So,
Julia?
We actually switched. We're just going to switch.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Yeah. So it seemed that the theme for a lot of the men this season was to latch onto a strong woman and proceed. Specifically, Anthony, you to me in the beginning, and then Julia once Julia spearheaded the vote of me out, and then Louie, you to Gracie. What is a move that you made without a woman telling you what to do?
Wow. I mean, I'd like to think that me and Julia at that point were working pretty closely. She might have initiated that. She might have been the first to say it, but that wasn't the first time I had like put the word in people's ears like, hey, I'm cool getting rid of Sam. I know she's a threat. Like, rolled that ball like I think I mentioned to Gray. I can't remember exactly who, but what I tried to do is put these thoughts in people's ears where like, hey, I'm cool getting rid of Julia. For example, me and Gracie had a talk last night where I basically said, I know Julia's more like, she's killing it right now. Like, I'm willing to make a move. Like, if that's a move, let's do it at some point. Like, if not next, then whenever, let's do something.
So you moved from one strong woman to the other?
I did. You're both strong women.
No, I'm saying from Julia to Gracie.
What?
To make that move.
Not. I mean, you're all strong women.
No, I'm saying like.
I mean, it wasn't necessarily women. I did that with I didn't only do that with women. I did that with plenty of other people. I did it with Justin. I did it with with Bobby. I did that with a bunch of people. I did it with Rachel. We had a talk last night too. But another woman. I'm sorry, another strong woman. You're all strong women is the point. I don't pick women versus men in who I work with or who I try to attach myself to in terms of gameplay. But
that wasn't the intent of my question. It was more so just that.
To say a move I made.
A move that you made without one of the four of us spearheading it first.
So, I don't know that I tried to spearhead moves, but they did not latch on, and that spoke to me not really being in control at certain points. I tried, it just didn't happen. When I noticed they weren't happening, I knew I had to lay back. So I probably can't say that I spearheaded a move without a strong woman, as you very eloquently put it and correctly put it, spearheading and being a guide. But I was okay with that because I knew it would come back to bite you rather than me when it came down to it. So
I would say outside of my everyday life, I'm naturally drawn to women. My ideal final group of people would be women because I've always gotten along with women, and they're the people, my friends are girls. I have more, like I'm very feminine. It's no secret. And that's why I instantly connected with Gracie. I could, I just got good vibes off of her. I connected with Donna in the beginning of the game. And I didn't see it as like men women type thing.
I'm glad that you made connections with women. I want to know what you did with
I understand your question. I'm getting to it. I'm just leading up to it. I just want to let you know that yes, Gracie was my ride or die, and she happens to be a woman, and she did help. We worked together. However, when the Justin vote came, I was a part of getting Justin out, and Gracie knew that I was the swing there to either go to Justin or Gracie, and whatever way it was going to go. So I had to make moves without Gracie. It didn't have to. I wasn't dependent. The Final Four was men. I had to be without women. I just happen to enjoy and bond with women more because we're social players. We're naturally more social. I'm saying weird as if I'm a woman. Women are naturally more social. And I've always been more of a social person than a physical person. It's just a part of who I am. So I would say that's my vote. I mean, that's my move.
I would argue I also helped spearhead the Justin move. I don't think that was. I think he literally just had to choose between those two. It is the wrong word.
But like that move wouldn't work if I didn't go with it.
Right. I was pushing that to Orange, and I think they were waiting for the right time, and they knew I had started that ball. I was like, let's do it, and they knew I was down, so they were like, all right, yeah, let's do it now.
Cool, thanks.
Julia?
Congrats, guys.
Thank you.
It's very clear that people love you, right? So I would really appreciate you stop talking about why, you are such good people, because we know that, and what kind of social game you play, and talk more about your strategy. So that being said, I have two different questions for you. Louie, last night when we were talking, and you had really bad breath from the smoothie.
I'm so sorry.
I know, it was tough. We had played through a couple scenarios. We had come back from the reward, and you were there talking about how there's no scenario that it's not me. And I'm sitting there being like, there's 5 of us right here. So I want to know, and then we continued to talk about going for Gracie, which I knew was a bold move. I was trying to get you to make a move if you were going to be in the finals. So tell me, what percentage of that was
your strategy in that moment was acting and how much was it not?
First of all, I'm sorry for the breath. Still living with it. At that time, it was completely acting because we had a conversation earlier about targeting you. I still did feel at that time that it was me. I felt that you were lying to me because I'd started to see that you were lying or throwing out different names to other people. So I was, of course, tabling it in case that you weren't lying, but I couldn't cut out Gracie just yet because Gracie was pivotal to my game. And whether or not that was, Gracie's plan to keep me much further, I rather put my eggs in the Gracie basket than to try and make a move and leave me isolated because I knew that Justin, I wasn't sure how he felt about me or about us. And I felt stronger about Gracie. And that was just a gut thing. So last night was truly, I knew the next morning I was voting for you. It was just about figuring out how to get the other people to vote for you and making sure that people weren't lying about me and just like, oh, everyone just make Louie feel comfortable that it's Julia and it's still just going to be Louie. Because we've talked through a lot of scenarios and a lot of them still did end up back to me. The other moves that happened that didn't end up at me were so big and so, had such big question marks on them and because it was Gracie and Rachel, it was hard to see what was going to be the correct move because there were too many connections everywhere. And I was afraid to make a huge, huge move at that moment because the heat was already so much on me that if I made it even hotter, I was for sure going to be the next person to go.
Did you really think the heat was on you? Was my other
I
question.
did. I totally. If we went to tribal council right after Rachel won immunity, I do think that I would have been going. Whether or not that's the case, I don't know, but I do think that was the case.
It was.
Anthony, I have a different question for you. There tends to be kind of two different types of people that play this game and two different strategies that people take. Were you a hero or a villain, and why?
Wow. I don't know if it's that cut and dry. If I had to pick between them, I'd say to maybe some I'm more a villain, but I think I trend more towards hero.
Why were you a villain ever?
I think Sam would probably not consider me much of a hero. But I don't think really overall I'm much of a villain. I did come into this game not planning on being very loyal. I planned on jumping at making as many deals and trying to make them seem super genuine. I did have trust in people, but I never had full trust in anybody. When I was asked my ride or die, I couldn't give him an answer because I never had a ride or die in this game. I tried to shift as much as possible, but I'm kind of going off track of your question. You said hero or villain. I'd say hero because I think I don't think I played scummy or anything like that. Nothing I did was personal. I didn't make any scummy moves. I think when it was at Final 7 and I was the one blue left, I think it was a good hero-ish story that I was able to persevere and get to the Final 2. I think that's kind of hero-ish. If I was a dick, I think it wouldn't be, but I think I'm as nice of a guy as I can be. And I think that plays a lot into hero versus villain because you don't often have super nice people be villains. It happens, but again, I didn't do things out of spite or do anything crazy like that. My moves
So you're
were...
going hero.
Say that again. I'm gonna go hero.
Okay.
David?
Survivor's a game of adaptability. So what was your strategy coming into this game, and then how did you adapt or evolve your strategy during the game? Anthony.
Yeah. My strategy going in, I've never been so nervous coming into something. I didn't think I would be, because I started thinking about what my strategy would be, and one, you can't really plan that because you got to see who's around you first. I know generally in a situation like this, I'm going to be seen as somewhat of a physical appearing threat, and then you could see what happens, I guess. So my strategy was kind of what I guess I sort of touched on this in my intro, was to appear more aloof and sort of not how do I phrase this? Not super savvy strategically when it came to strategy. So my goal was to just be comic relief, which I think I was that role somewhat, at least a chunk of it in our original group. And my other strategy coming in is just to be very personable and just not appear like my mind is always running with crazy paranoia or stuff like that. So when people approach me for the first few times, I seem very level-headed of a player, so that's attractive to work with. Especially when merges and swaps come, that's what I like to be. I find the balance. My goal is to find the balance between threat and liability, and then threat and, all right, they're a threat, they're threatening, but I think I need to still attach myself to them because they're very level-headed and they seem loyal and kind of the same mindset that I do. But in terms of like, I'm gonna get an alliance of 4 or 5 or 3, I don't like to plan like that ahead. I like to see what the game brings me and see how I mesh with people before I even start thinking about stuff like that. So there's more like cerebral thoughts like that.
I think going into this game, the biggest thing that I had at the top of my mind was to be adaptable. The beautiful thing about Survivor is that you never know how it's going to turn out, because it all depends on the people that you're with. And the first step to your adaptability is your tribe, right? You have to figure out the social dynamics, who's fitting in with who's sticking out, and you have to adapt to what you think is the group majority. And that's what, I'm sure everybody did. And that's, where the votes start happening. Another time, I think my whole game was adaptability. I was never at the forefront of anything because I didn't get the chance to. I was, more of an underdog in this whole scenario. I was a target a bunch, and I had to adapt as best as I could to different people. I mean, I didn't have super deep strategic connections with everybody. The way we started this game was we had 2 days with the same people, and we had such strong bonds with those people that it was hard to break out and completely put your trust in people you didn't know. And that started to shake out later in the game. And it didn't have to do with anything like personally, because I wanted to work with everybody because everyone seemed so great. But you go back to your gut, and what is your gut telling you? I think adaptability is born in your gut, because in order to survive, you need to be able to read the room and read the scenarios. And I've been able to adapt from every single vote out with the new mix of people. And the end of the game got muddy, and there was, as the tribal colors began to blend, you might have your tried and true people, but are they truly with you? Are they going to backstab you? Are you willing to work with more people? I think you had to have been adaptable to sit here, because the game naturally breeds it. And I think my game was completely about adaptability because I didn't have anything flashy to sit behind.
Brandon?
All right, hey guys. As I
Well, that's a
sit
lot of
here with
weight.
the former version of myself, we've got a couple questions for you. So I'm going to start with you, Louie. If you could describe the narrative of this season, where do you think you would fall into it?
I mean, that's tricky because I've watched the season from my narrative. I would say, looking at the end result here.
Yeah, very meta.
Yeah.
Think about it in a meta as you can.
I mean,
obviously.
just within here, this feels a very David versus Goliath scenario, right? I was somebody who never really had a whole ton of power or obvious power, I should say, in the game, right? I mean, I didn't have any of the things that people did. People made great moves in this game, and I unfortunately wasn't somebody who was able to make one of those big risky moves because I didn't have that. And Anthony, played a very different game than I did. He was very physical, and he won how many? Four immunities in a row, and you're able to play a little more loose when you're not going home. I got votes every single round for I think all day. I got votes, and for me it was a David versus Goliath story because I think almost everyone was expecting me at some point to be the person that would go. So I would say David versus Goliath is how I feel this season went.
All right. My question for you, Anthony, besides Sam, who was your easiest person to backstab and why?
it's not that people were easy to backstab. She wasn't easy to backstab.
Who was the easiest besides her, though?
The easiest to backstab, probably Justin, because only because I knew how much he was kind of going to town with. He made deals everywhere. I wouldn't say it's easy to backstab, but I don't have much of a problem separating personal from moves. Like, it's not. I don't have a hard time voting for people. Before the merge, not the very last vote, the Lance vote actually, Julia and Lance wanted to vote Travis, and I was actually gonna do that for the sake, and we were in an alliance that you and Lance were not in at that point, really. So yeah, we had a group of 4 that you. But what ended up happening was I really actually more so wanted to attach myself to you two, Julia and Lance. So I was gonna tie that vote to at the very least cause chaos kind of in our group. But the only reason I didn't was because I wasn't sure she was, when you didn't vote Travis, you voted Lance.
Sorry.
So I wasn't sure you were doing that.
Can you just be more specific for the audience? Are you talking to me?
Hold on.
I'm talking to you. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm talking to
Julia.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm talking to Julia. I didn't know for sure Julia was voting. Travis was gonna do it because we're all muddled. It's so hard to like get last minute things if you're not next to somebody. So I didn't end up doing it. I was actually at the voting booth for like an extra 30 seconds. Like, maybe she did do that, but I really didn't think that Julia did, so I didn't end up doing that. But I'm kind of going off your question. I'm sorry. You said.
Can you just explain why Justin would be your easiest person to backstab?
Because I knew how much he was. I didn't know if he was actually loyal to, like, how. I know you were at a level loyal to me that he was. I'm talking to him, whatever. Loyal to me, but I knew he had deals all over the map. I don't think there was a soul he didn't have a deal with, like, and was pushing. And as soon as I compared notes, I knew that for certain. But I knew anyway, and he was such a big threat. Well, I hope he wouldn't take it personally because he knew he was a big threat. You knew, like, he was probably like, how have I not gotten out yet? And so it was more like proud and like, yeah, I feel bad. I feel bad when I do that to people. But I know they know it's a game. If they don't get that it's a game and it's not personal, then they're probably we probably wouldn't be friends anyway outside of this. You know what I mean? So.
Thanks, man.
Bobby. So I'm going to ask my question to both of you individually, but it is the same question. So as Rachel mentioned, you both talked about how you're super amazing and tried to peel back some of your bigger attributes.
You didn't say super amazing. Who wants to say it?
So Anthony, so you mentioned that obviously you're a 6'3" athletic competition beast. You said that you are comic relief. And we already talked about adaptability. Aside from those, what would you say is your strongest attribute, and how did that help your game?
I think my strongest attribute is I'm able to, I hope, just from experience, I think I'm able to appear very genuine when I'm talking strategy when I'm like proposing, like, hey, let's work together, whether I mean it or not. I mean, at a certain level, I usually mean it, but sometimes it's complete error. But I think I'm able to read the other person I'm talking to and talk to them how I think they want to be approached and what I think makes sense for their game. And I think I'm good at sensing how they feel about their game at the moment and what kind of, if I'm approaching them with a move, what kind of move makes sense. So I think when I had conversations like that, I think I was above average at kind of initiating and engaging those conversations. If that makes sense.
Okay. Louie, you're a 6'3" athletic competition beast. No. So you mentioned that you're a big personality, and obviously you really focused on your social game, how you peeled that back, how you peeled back your competition. And again, no adaptability, but aside from those, what would you say is your strongest attribute, and how did that help your game?
I would say my biggest skill was observation. I mean, outside of this game, I work in casting, and I observe every day. I'm observing people constantly. And it's a skill I knew that I could come in with and use as a last, continuously, but as a resort to get myself information if information wasn't getting to me. And this game, not a lot of information came to me by way of just myself. I had to observe through other conversations and people or maybe what somebody was putting in their bag, or if somebody left, something behind, or if they were walking in front of someone or behind somebody. I had to gather clues to help me make decisions in this game. So I would say observation was my best key.
All right, jury, thank you. It's now time to vote. Just to be clear, we're voting for a winner, either Louie or
Not
Anthony. I was going to say it, but it would have been funny. So let's get to the vote. Justin, you're up. Travis? Crazy?
Not the first time I've written down your name. It's been fun strategizing with you, and I really respect your game. And thanks to Aaron's family for taking care of my puppy Louie.
ahead, Us.
I came in here thinking I was going to vote one way, but the confidence with which you spoke won me over.
Go ahead, Julie.
Congrats, Louie. You totally got this in the bag. Way to go, playing an awesome game, making it to the end, acting your way through this game.
Well, the discussion at Final Tribals may have made me regret saying that I would go to Rocks for you, but it definitely will not make me regret voting for you to win. You deserve it, and you're a good dude.
Anthony, love playing with you, buddy, and I love hearing your enters on behind the scenes of your strategy. I thought you were 100% 100p, and I felt like when you said something that was true, and I actually enjoyed hearing that. There's a few things you spun up and did differently behind the scenes. So good luck. Hope you win. This time. All right, here we go. Anthony, I think you covered all your bases really well, and when you spoke about how genuine you were, that really spoke to me. I only knew you for like one night, but even the one night that we talked, I did feel like I made a friend out of you. So, hope it goes your way, buddy. Congrats.
Congrats, man. You definitely play a more well-rounded game. I don't know if I necessarily agree with everything you said in terms of the moves that you made and all that, but compared to Louie. Overall, he did better game. So congrats.
That happened right behind me. She was like, oh.
Oh yeah, that was true. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Thanks to Bryce. Bryce didn't know he was going to be the drummer when he came out here. We didn't even have a drum. And yet, this guy's been great the whole weekend, so thanks. All right, for the final time, I'll tally the votes.
Got 13 again.
All right, before we get to the votes, I want to let you see what you're playing for, of course. So, Ian, can you bring out the 2019 Cobster? Here. If you don't know Ian and Jordan, this is their home. They've been host to a whole horde of people for over a week now. So big thanks to them for putting this on. All right, let's get to it. It's the one time you want to see your name coming out of the urn. First vote, Anthony.
All right.
Anthony. Louie. Anthony. Louie. 2 votes Anthony, 2 votes Louie. Anthony. Louie. 3 votes Anthony, 3 votes Louie. Anthony. Louie. Why not? One more time, right? Anthony. Winner of Survival Challenge 2019, Anthony.